Welcome to Beyond the Statement, this mini workshop series. Remember, this is a quick workshop series. This is not designed to be an hour, to be a 6-hour full-blown training. It is designed just to give you an opportunity to at least start the conversation in regards to diversity and inclusion. On this workshop, we're focused on why is now the time to address diversity and inclusion. Ooh, I like this topic because everyone always wants to find out when is the right time to do the work. We're going to talk about it on this workshop. As always, my disclaimer, my statements and opinions are my own. Every workshop has a goal. There's an overarching goal for this Beyond the Statement mini workshop series. But for this particular workshop, we're focused on determining the best time to address diversity and inclusion. That's what we're going to do over the course of this workshop. We're going to focus on when is the best time. So at the end of this workshop, you will know the best time to start this work. Before we get into the best time, I want to start off with this clip by James Baldwin, one of my favorite scholars, to get us on the right track and to kind of set the tone for what we need to talk about and when. I like the word when we need to talk about these things in regards to diversity and inclusion. Here's James Baldwin.
What is it you wanted me to reconcile myself to? I was born here almost 60 years ago. I'm not going to live another 60 years. You always told me it takes time. It has taken my father's time, my mother's time, my uncle's time, my brother's and my sister's time, my nieces and my nephew's time. How much time do you want for your progress?
Everyone says it takes time to do initiatives, to do these different commitments, to do things, but organizational leaders, time is up to you. You determine how much time it's going to take because overnight you can implement policies and procedures and change things. Every time I work with organizations on diversity and inclusion, Chris is going to take some time. We got to do some research. We got to do this and that. I'm like, are we serious? But if I said, hey, here's a way for your organization to make some money. Here are the steps or hoops you need to jump through. Everybody's jumping and moving around. Let's do it. Let's do it. So does it really take time or does it take a commitment? As it relates to this commitment, over the course of the workshop, the big word you keep hearing is commitment. I'm going to help your organization write out a commitment. Ultimately, that's what we're going to get to, a commitment to diversity and inclusion. But first, we talked about what it is. We had to define it. Now we're going to talk about why now. Notice that I said now, why we're going to talk about why now. You get it. That was cool. I like that. Why is now the time to address? This is one of the most pivotal points in history in 2020. I want to show you some data. Data tells a story. I always say this from Jay-Z. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. You're going to hear that probably every single workshop. The reason being, I have to give a baseline. The baseline of data gives a story. It tells us where we're going. It holds us accountable. Here's a key piece of data. The student achievement gap has remained the same for the past 50 years. And we refer to the student achievement gap, this is between the have and have-nots. Think about in the past 50 years, all of the changes that have occurred. Transportation, technology, housing. Think about malls. Think about theme parks. All of these things have occurred in the past 20 years. But guess what has remained the same? The gap between the have and have-nots. And it's purposeful. What do I mean it's purposeful? Understand the system that we're in was designed for a certain group of individuals, a certain group of people. So it's purposeful that this gap exists. And most are going to say, all right, Chris, you're going to talk about what it was designed for, the white people. And that's why we're in these inequities, but I don't really agree. All right, let's break it down. A lot of times I think we have a misnomer. We always say it was designed for, the white males. That's who it was for. It was really, this educational system that we're in was designed for rich white people. And why, Chris, why are you putting the word rich in there? I thought, keep talking about race. Understand this. When we say academic achievement gap between the have and have-nots, that top 1%, that's who systems were designed for them to succeed. Same thing with our educational system, because right now we're in a moment, I'm on constant calls. We're rethinking education. What are we going to do next? The same groups of individuals represented at the initial designing are doing it now. How are we fixing things if we're purposely, I say purposely, right now you do things purposefully through excluding individuals, through the lack of diversity on your groups within your organization? How are you going to create something for someone and they're not even being represented? I pause, I reflect, I take a moment, give you time to digest that. Now back to the data. That student achievement gap has remained the same. I'm be honest, at the rate we're going, especially by not addressing diversity and inclusion in the decision-making process and having different entities represented, that achievement gap is going to stay the same for the next 50 years. Yeah, I said it. Here we go. So data. I use the NAEP data to tell this story. There's no such thing as a perfect data source. There's no such thing as a person who loves data. There's no perfect data, but there's valid and reliable data, and we can use it to tell a story. According to NAEP, the NAEP data, grade 4 reading, I'm not even comparing grades. What I'm doing is just showing you big picture. I think, because coming back. A lot of people post some data and then drop it on you like, oh, look at the data. And just for shock value, I want you to actually make sense of this data quickly as it relates to a bigger narrative. In the United States, when it comes to the NAEP data, grade 4, the gray represents states that have remained stagnant. The light blue represents states that have declined. The dark blue represents states that have increased. Across the country as a whole, we're pretty much remaining stagnant as it relates to reading scores in grades 4. In grade 8, it gets a little bit worse because a lot of places are going down. The same thing when it comes to mathematics. A lot of states are in gray. That means things are remaining stagnant. Light blue, scores are going down. A lot of people are going to say, well, Chris, look, we got some dark blue. We have some growth. Look at where they started and where they're at now. They were kind of low. I'm not knocking states, but it wasn't good to begin with. So it's not like, oh, they're high, they're going higher. They were pretty much, if they went down, it'd be like, are y'all even going to school there? That's why I want people to understand the data. When we look at increases and decreases, we have to unpack it a little bit more of growth. Looking at students in terms of growth or students in terms of when they're not growing. All right, that's for another episode where I get into growth, understanding what growth is, and not just growth in, hey, we use these scores. No, mastery of the material. All right, that's another one. I'm getting on a tangent. Let me come back. Here's the data that we have. So as a whole, reading, not too well. Mathematics, not doing too well. Chris, all right, we understand that. We have an achievement gap. We have these factors, but what does that have to do with us as organizational leaders? We care about students, right? That's who we focus on serving. If something is not growing, what is it doing? We looked at that data. That's current day, according to NAEP. Here's the projections for the U.S. profile in 2045. We will no longer be a majority white nation. Some statisticians are projecting it's actually going to be before 2045. Why does that matter? Why is that important? The students today are going to be in a different world as they go through life. What are we doing now to prepare them for that world? Or are we saying, hey, we're not worried about that. We got to maintain power. And when I say we, you know what I mean when I say we. Understand, our organizational leaders, what are you preparing your students for? What are you preparing your company for? You're preparing for one or two things. A, you're preparing it to meet the needs of the future. I just sat on a planning committee where their organization is doing this. I was a focus group, not a planning committee. Let me correct that because somebody be like, what planning committee was he on? I was on the focus group. They're doing their 5 and 10 year plans. So organizations do look ahead. What are you preparing your organization for? You're preparing it for one or two things. A, Chris, I'm looking at this data. We got to diversify within our organization because the world is changing. Or some organizations are doing this. Look, I know what's happening, what's coming. how we're going to maintain power, how we're going to maintain our structures. And these are education entities. This is not Forbes, those entities that we see in the NAS. No, these are education-based organizations. Schools, districts, state boards, publishers, everything education related. Remember, we're specifically talking about education here. We're either preparing students for the world that used to exist, that exists, or that will exist. I'm giving you some wait time. Let you chop and chew on it, organizational leaders. You're either trying to change it or you're trying to maintain it. Oh, that's a tweetable. Let's say it again. You're either trying to change it and improve it or you're trying to maintain it. Chris, we're doing some things. We're trying out some things. It takes time. Right now, June 2020, depending upon when you're watching this video. If you're watching it in the present, it's June 2020. During the summer, there's a lot of trainings. A lot of things are going on. Right now we're in 2020. When we're making this video, COVID is going on and trainings have been through the roof. I've never seen so many trainings being offered. And districts this summer, they're going to be doing all these trainings. They got to do some COVID trainings. You got to do this training. Think about your trainings. Your trainings show what you value within the organization. What is consciously being addressed? What is consciously being not addressed? Think about it. A lot of trainings deal with, hey, Chris, we need to talk about our corporate, who we are as a company. All right, let's do a training. Hey, Chris, we need to talk about this new policy we're going to implement in regards to corporate spending. All right, let's do a training. Hey, Chris, we need to do a training on sexual harassment. All right, let's do a training. Hey, Chris, we're serving more students with disabilities. Let's do a training. All right, let's do a training. Hey, Chris, we're serving English learners. They're going to make us some money. Oh, I didn't say it out loud, but let's do a training. And I'm not discounting any of those trainings, but when it comes to access, equity, diversity, and inclusion, what type of trainings are your organization doing? Ongoing. Not the proverbial, hey, Chris, or hey, diversity and inclusion company, do you have a module we can send out to our people for a checklist for certification? Perfect. Checkbox. Is it an ongoing training? Just asking. This summer, what are you doing in terms of diversity and inclusion? You've all released these statements, these PR statements, but what are you actually doing? Is that crickets? Is that crickets out here? All right. Here we go. Beyond the statement, what are you consciously doing? Beyond the statement, what are you consciously doing? And what are you consciously not doing? People understand leaders. You're purposeful in your act. You can't, Chris, I don't know. I don't know what to do. In this world, if you don't know what to do, Google search. I don't know what to do. It'll give you an answer. I'm saying it's maybe the first one, the right answer immediately, but we can't keep running out of time because a lot of people just gonna hold the ball until time runs out or until they make it and leave, or you're gonna do something to change. You're either maintaining or you're changing. It is time to stop minimizing differences and begin to amplify them. It is time to begin the process of facilitating change through organizations' policies and procedures. No longer can organizations purposefully ignore diversity and inclusion issues being discussed by and impacting internal and external stakeholders. The diversity and inclusion commitments are designed to directly make sense of the issue, develop a plan of action, and implement the plan of action through a continuous improvement process. All of these organizations have put out these statements. I can literally, if I went through my email, my phone, or just conversations I've had, I have informal and formal collective hundreds of cases of racism within organizations. There's one organization particularly, they put out a statement, we do not tolerate racism. And I know for a fact it's an internally racist culture. I've witnessed it. Upper level individuals have witnessed it. And nothing has ever been done. I'm not saying the company's name, but understand Your statements fall upon deaf ears to the ones that are really being impacted. Your actions show me where you are. I don't care about no statement. Literally, this is what most organizations did. Hey, where's our PR public relations firm that we've hired? We need a statement. Yeah, copy and paste somebody else's, change the name, put my name in it, and make some sob story about how I understand or I don't understand. Got it. That's what companies did. Leaders, just be honest. That's what a lot of people did. And then when you ask them questions, so what do you really want? I really don't know what to do, but we got to put the statement out. Just saying. The diversity or lack of diversity of an organization's administrative executive level positions showcases their commitment to diversity, not their anti-racism statements. Oh yeah, it was great. It was perfect PR. We're against racism. Then you go in that boardroom, who's not represented purposefully. Then a lot said, we're against racism. You go into the executive level suite, who's not and people like, Chris, what do you mean purposeful? The qualified applicants, etc. I've seen this with my eyes. I've witnessed it in the past years. I studied organizational leadership. I studied organizations across the country, almost probably across the world at this point. I've seen organizational leaders hire their friends to multi-million, I won't say multi-million dollar positions. I know for a fact 6-figure positions. I think they're multi-million. I don't have proof, so I just say nice. And I'm not saying 6-figure, 100,000, entry level 6-figure. I mean, they've hired friends to these positions. Literally, I'm hiring my friend. Done. Now, how many people have done that for someone who does not look like them in terms of gender and race? How many organizational leaders have made those type big time decisions for someone who does not represent them in gender and race? Oh, crickets. Oh, I forget, they got to go through the process. We got corporate structures in place. A lot of people buy that narrative and buy that, Chris, we can't do. You do what you want to do. You do where your heart is at. You do where your heart is at as a leader. My thing is admit, hey, we wanted to put out a statement. We really don't care. That's fine. That's authentic to who you are as a company, who you are as an organization. But if you care, keep watching. I'm going to help you. I want to help you, but I want people to be honest. I want leaders to be honest in your level of commitment. Don't do one thing in front of the camera or in front of the postings and etc. Do the right thing. Do where your heart is at. And your heart can change. So I'm not saying people can't change, but what I am saying, I'm asking you, what do you really want? What do you truly want to do? Because you can do it as a leader. No leader, you can't tell me as a leader what you can't do until you tell me what you can. All right, homework. 2 pieces of homework, one individually, one organizationally. As an individual, I want you to read James Baldwin, A Talk to Teachers. If you go on my website, christopherchilds.com/resources, I have posted a link to A Talk to Teachers. Quick read. Or if you just Google search A Talk to Teachers, James Baldwin, it pops up. You need to read that. Organizationally, review your organization's policies that specifically address diversity and inclusion. Human resources can help you. Don't look for convoluted policies. It kind of said, no. Do you have specific policies? That's a yes or no question. If you do, you need them. The first homework assignment, you look at demographics for your organization. Now you're looking at the policies that you have on file. That's it. Simple. I'm going to help you through this. Going back to our goal. Our goal was determining the best time to address diversity and inclusion. So now, as an organization, you're trying to figure out when's the best time. For every organization, I'm going to tell you when's the best time. Now, N-O-W. Now is the best time. Right now, not tomorrow. Time. Understand this. Time waits for no one. There's no time like the present. What are you willing to do now to address diversity and inclusion within your organization? You are the leader. You can do this. Colin Kaepernick says it best. Believe in something. even if it means sacrificing everything. What do you believe in as an organizational leader? Your actions show me what you believe in. So what action are you going to take in regards to diversity and inclusion? Or what inaction are you going to take? Right now, we need bold leaders who are willing to stand for something. The reason you're a leader is to facilitate change. Don't go by, Chris, we're taught in our leadership development classes, we do these things and we don't do these things and we don't talk about. Again, are you trying to maintain an inequitable system or are you trying to change it? That's on you. Be vocal about it. Be truthful about it. I'm the type of person, I call out leaders. And I don't call you out to embarrass you. I call you out to hold you accountable. If you say it, all right, show me your actions. If you don't say it, tell me why. You're a leader. That you chose that. Okay? No matter, how you got into your leadership position, whether it was, hey, I worked hard, I climbed the ladder, or it was like, hey, friend, I got a job for you. No matter, you're in that position. What are you going to do? Diversity and inclusion, now is the time to address it authentically, put in forth plans. Stop saying you don't know what to do. Because again, if I say it right now, I'm saving that example. You know what to do. You either want to do it or you don't want to do it. I see you all on the next episode. As you can see, I'm getting riled up. Why? This is important to me. This is personal to me. I'm trying to make it personal to you. Now is the time. What are you going to do?